All right, let's take off with the next part of the test. Looking at number 20. This is a little bit tricky. A jar contains red and blue marbles. The probability that a randomly selected marble is red is 1 out of 4. If 27 of the marbles are blue, how many marbles are in the jar? Okay, now remember, I told you before when we're doing probability and things, keep it straight what you're dealing with. So I'm comparing the number of red ones to the whole amount. And they've told me that the red to the whole amount is 1 out of 4. 1 out of every 4 marbles is red. Okay, we don't know how many red there are. So I'm just going to call that X, because that's my unknown. So red to the whole thing, they told me that there are 27 blue marbles. But I'm going to have to add to that however many red there are. So 1 over 4 is the same as X is to 27 plus X. Well, remember when we see these two equivalent fractions, cross multiply. So I cross multiply and I get 27 plus X equals 4X. Okay, so now we're doing our algebra rules. First thing, solve both sides, which means combining like terms. Nothing you can do. Second step, isolate your variable term, which means get it by itself. Okay, that we can do. Let's get all our variables on one side. So I'm just going to subtract over here, because it doesn't matter which side as long as it's alone. So now I have 27, X minus X is 0. 4X minus X is 3X. And then the third step is to do the opposite operation, which is usually divide. Not always, but usually. So this is 3 times X. The opposite of multiply is divide. Divide by 3. Divide by 3. So X equals 9. So, final thing. How many red marbles are there? 9. But the question is, how many marbles altogether were there? Well, we've got 9 red. And how many blue do we have? 27. So we have a total of 36 marbles altogether. And that is answer E. So that had a couple of little wrinkles to it. And then also the fact that in the end, you get down and you go, oh, okay, it's 9. And they gave that as an answer choice even. You got to pay attention. That's one really important rule. Always pay attention to what question they actually ask. Once you get to the end, think, wait a minute, am I answering what they asked me? Okay, so that's 20. Number 21. What is the solution to the system of equations shown below? All right. 3x plus y equals 5, and 5x plus 2y equals 6. Okay, this is kind of like that problem that was 19, where we just had to plug in the points. That's kind of what we're going to do here. We're going to plug in the answer. So the first possible answer they give is 4, -7. Remember, these are always written x, comma, y. So that means every time I see an x, I'm putting a 4. Every y, I'm putting a -7. So let's try my first equation right here. It's going to be 3 times 4 plus -7 equals 5. 3 times 4 is 12 plus -7, same thing as -7, equals 5. Hey, that one works. But I've seen a lot of problems before on these practice tests where the first one works, but it doesn't work in the second equation. You always have to check both. So let's check here then. I'm going to write this over here so we can see it easily. So it's going to be 5 times 4 plus 2 times -7 equals 6. I was just plugging those points in, 4 and -7. 5 times 4 is 20. Plus 2 times -7. Remember again, you'll have your calculator. That makes you nervous. Just do it and get the -14 equals 6. And then again, even here, do it in your calculator. 2 plus -14. 20 plus -14. Well, that's the same thing as 20 minus 14. So 6 equals 6. Yes. So we have the answer. The first one happened to be it for this one. So the answer is A. So whenever they're talking about the solution for a system of equations, or does this point lie on this line, or what satisfies this equation, you just plug in the values and then work it through to see if what you get in the end is true. If this had been 6 equals 8, no, it doesn't. So we'd know, okay, that isn't right, so that answer doesn't work. It's got to be a true equation. So 6 equals 6. Over here is going to be 5 equals 5. That's what makes it be one of the solutions. All right, I know I look crazy trying to read the timer. It's way down here to make sure I'm recording again. Number 22. Josh and Terry both collect coins. Together they have a total of 46 coins. If Josh has 12 more coins than Terry, how many coins does Josh have? Okay, Josh has 12 more than Terry. Okay, so there's two ways you can do this. I'm going to stay with even numbers, or I'm sorry, positive numbers. So I'm going to say that Terry has X number of coins. Well, Josh has 12 more. We don't know how many Terry has, but Josh has 12 more. So that would be X plus 12, right? And together, they have 46. Together means I'm going to add. So I'm going to do X plus 12 equals 46. Okay, first step, solve both sides, which is combine like terms. X plus X, so I have 2X plus 12 equals 46. Next, isolate my variable term. I need this 2X by itself. Subtract 12, subtract 12. So 2X equals 34. Third step, do the opposite. This is 2 times X. Opposite would be divide. So X equals 17. All right, so Terry has 17. How many does Josh have? Well, he has 17 plus 12. So he has 29. And look, 17 plus 29, that does equal 36 or 46. Then we got to look. What did they ask me though? They asked me, how many coins does Josh have? Josh has 29. So the correct answer is 29, which is C. So again, you got to get down there and look and see, what did they actually ask? All right, 23. What is the solution to this system of equations shown below? So this is just like that one we looked at a couple ago. So we have these two equations. They both represent lines, but that's irrelevant. I mean, in terms of, you can solve it without even understanding that. But the reason that's important is because they've given us points then. And remember, my points are X comma Y. So let's try, I'm looking at the first one. Okay, guys, a little hint here. The first one where they've got Y is 38 over 3. I'm not starting with a fraction, okay? It's just going to be a mess. So I'm going to start with B, which is 5, negative 4. If one of them had 0 as an X or Y, I'd probably start with that one because that's going to be a quick one. So let's try 5, negative 4 in here in my first equation. So it's going to be 5 times 5 plus 3 times negative 4 equals 13. 5 times 5 is 25 plus negative 12 equals 13. You can use your calculator. 25 minus 12, 13 equals 13. Hey, that checks. But again, you got to check them both because that's what the question has asked. They both, so that one means it's true in that equation, but let's look here. So 8 times 5 plus 5 times negative 4 equals 20. Again, you can always use your calculator. 8 times 5 is 40. Plus 5 times negative 4 is negative 20 equals 20. Well, if you did that in your calculator, you'd end up with 20 equals 20, which is also true. So this is actually my answer. Okay, so the answer to this one is B. So we didn't have to try those other ones on this situation. But on other equations, you know, if B doesn't work, you got to try C, you got to try D. And every time you've got to try both equations because it's got to be true for both for it to be the right answer. All right, so now we're on number 24. And it says the average of 4 numbers is 8. If the sum of 3 of the numbers is 22, What is the value of the remaining number? Okay, remember that the average is the same thing as the mean. Okay, and I've given you the formula for the mean. The mean or average, as we said before, it means it is the total of the data divided by the number of data. All right, so they've told me that there are 4 numbers, okay? So if the sum of 3 of the numbers is 22, so if we're adding 1, 2, 3, we got 22, plus we've got to add one more number, x, we're going to call it, okay, because we don't know what it is. And they've told me then that the average, that there are 4 terms, and the average is 8. Okay, let me show you the easiest way to do this. If I have 4 terms and the average is 8, that means 4 times 8, I'm going to need 32 total points. Because if I have 32 points and divide it by 4, I'll get 8. Well, if I need 32 points and I have 22, how many's left? 10. So that's my final answer. The answer is B, 10. That's going to be your easiest way to do these when they ask you to find one of the missing numbers, is see how many points do I need total to make it possible. And if I have 4 terms and the average is 8, 4 times 8 is 32. So I need 32 points, and then I see what I've got. And that's the way I work from there. Okay, 25. Which of the following is the sum of 3x, x, 2y, and negative 5y? All right, sum means you add. Got to remember that. Remember, the difference means subtract. The product means you multiply. Ooh, whoops, sorry. And the quotient. Quotient means to divide. Those are important terms. Be sure you know those. Write those down if you're not set on it. So they told me the sum, so I'm going to add them. All right, so we're combining like terms. 3x plus x is 4x. 2y minus 5y. Just do 2 minus 5 and see what comes up. You're going to get negative 3y. So 4 minus 3y, which is C. Whenever you get concerned on these combining like terms, just use your calculator, okay, and see. Just all you got to do is deal with the numerical coefficient, the number in front of it, okay? All right, this next, let's see if I can pull this off by holding this up, because you've got it hopefully in front of you. I'm not going to try and draw this whole thing, okay? What were the total sales in January? All right, anytime you look at a graph, you want to look, this is going to be the total sales in thousands. It tells you that. And then here are months, January, February, March, April, May, and so forth. So we've counted it out in thousands. Total sales in January, we go up to 3, but they told me it's 1,000. So the total is 3,000. So the answer is C. Okay? Let's look at the next one. What were the total sales in January through May? Well, let's add them all. So let's see, this 3. So we got 3,000, 4,000. What is that? 8? I got to put it in front of me. Sorry. 8,000. 8,000, 6,000, and 6,000. Just draw lines across and see. And if you added all those up, 3,000 plus 4,000 plus 8,000 plus 6,000 plus 6,000, you get 27,000. That is the total sales adding all 5 months. Okay? Between which 2 months was there the biggest change in total sales? Okay, biggest change. Well, we only changed by 1,000 here. Look here, we went from 4 to 8. Woo, that's a 4,000 change. That's pretty big. Here we went from 8 to 6. That's only 2,000. So the biggest jump is here from February to March. So the answer is B, February to March. Okay? And let's see, let me pause this. Okay, so we've got this function here, f of x equals x squared minus 2x plus 7. And they're telling me, I want to know what the output is if the input is x equals -3. So I'm just plugging in this -3 every time I see x. So now I'm saying that f of -3 would be -3 squared minus 2 times -3 plus 7. All right, use your calculator. -3 times -3 is +9 minus 2 times -3 is going to be a -6. So I've got minus and negative. So I've got plus 6 plus 7. So 9 plus 6, 15, 22, which is answer E. Okay, so that's another one that you're just plugging in. Sorry, making sure it's working. All right, number 30. After getting a ride from a taxi, Austin decides to leave a 20% tip on a $30 fare. In dollars, how much is the total cost of the taxi ride? Okay, he leaves 20% on $30. So here's what I need to do. What I need to know is 20% of $30. All right, so look on the calculator here. If I do 20 and then I hit the green button and the percent, 20%, and then all I do is just key in the 30. 20% of 30, it told me it's 6. Okay, make sure you know how to do that. So 20% of 30 is 6. All right, so spent $6 on tip, had a $30 fare. Again, this is where you got to pay attention. What did they ask me? They asked the total cost. The total cost is $36. So D. Those of you who do stuff math in your head sometimes, if you can tell me what 10% of 30 is, remember you move the decimal over 1. 10% of 30 is 3. So 20% of 30 is 6. You don't have to be able to understand that, but some of you guys, that's easier for you. But just do 20% of 30, do it on your calculator, and it'll tell you. 31. On the graph, y equals 3x minus 5. What is the x-coordinate of the point that has a y-coordinate of 22? Okay, so they're telling me y equals 22. All right, so let's just plug that in then. When at y is 22, what is my x-coordinate? All right, go back up here again because we're solving for x. We're solving for a variable. Solve both sides. Done. Isolate the variable. I need my 3x by itself. So I'm going to add the 5x. 3x equals 22 plus 5 is 27. Third step, do the opposite. So instead of multiplying, I'm dividing. X equals 9, which is answer number B, or letter B. Okay, so literally that's telling me that the point 9, 22 is on this line, just by plugging in the values. All right, let's look at number 32. Number 32, in a small office, secretaries earn $14 an hour, while data entry specialists earn $12 an hour. If there are A number of secretaries and B data entry, which one of these is going to represent the total hourly pay in dollars? So just so we don't get messed up, secretaries earn $14, and they're going to tell us that there are A number of secretaries, and we're calling those A. The data entry people earn $12 an hour, and they told us we're going to refer to those as people B, okay? Well, secretaries, however many I have, let's say I've got 10, it doesn't matter. However many I've got, I'm going to multiply $14 times however many of them there are, and that's going to tell me how much we're going to pay the secretaries every hour. Data specialists is 12 times however many there are, B. So 14A plus 12B, which is answer B. So don't make that harder than it needs to be. We're totaling it up and just keep it straight. I need to do $14 times the number of secretaries. I need to do $12 times the number of data entry specialists. All right, number 33. The diagram above shows a ladder of length x leaning against a wall. Which of the following expressions represents the value of x in feet? Okay, two things. One thing I've told you guys is anytime you see there's going to be a right angle in there, you need to think of our dear friend Pythagoras and his amazing theorem. Remember, the Pythagorean Theorem is that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. C is always the side opposite the right angle. He amazingly figured this out, okay? Another thing to notice in this one, it says which of the following expressions. So we're not solving it, and you can glance down and look at the answers and you go, oh, they're not solved all the way, so I'm not going to be solving it all the way. All right, so I intentionally drew that backwards because I want you to understand. Whoops, that's not very good. But here's the ground. Whoa, that's so not good. We can't even work with it, I don't think. My board's a little wobbly, I'm sure you can tell. Okay, so here's my building. So in theory, my building should be at a right angle to the ground. That's 8, that's 6, and we don't know x. So we know our a and our b. Doesn't matter which one I call a and which one I call b because I'm adding. Remember, adding is commutative. 5 plus 3 is the same as 3 plus 5. So I'm just going to call the 6a. So I'm going to go 6 squared plus 8 squared equals x squared. Okay, that's what the theorem is. Okay, now you look down at the answers. They want to solve strictly for x. This is x squared. Guys, this is the one situation where why I have to say this rule the way I always do. So let's look. Solve both sides. Well, they're not going to have me do that. Isolate the variable. It's done. Opposite operation. What is the opposite of raising it to an exponent? Yes, I could hear everyone yelling root. Excellent. You take the root. Remember, anything you do to one side, you must do to the other. So in the past, usually we divided because that last thing was multiplied. Here, it's squared. So I've got to do the opposite of an exponent, which is a root. Well, what is the square root of x squared? Means what times itself gives me x squared? X. And then this, I'm just rewriting it. I'm not changing anything. And if you look at the answers, that is number B, or letter B. Super important, though, that you recognize all this, because look at A. A looks close. But it is the square root of these things. Because this is x squared, so I've got to do the opposite, which is take the square root of both sides. And that gives me that. That's that other big clue, though. When they say which expression, glance down and look. That should mean they're not going to solve it. You know, your answer is not going to be 5 or something like that. It's going to be an equation, basically. All right, number 34. What is the slope of the line that passes through points 2, 2 and 5, 6? All right. As we've said many times, points are x comma y. So my 2 points are 2, 2, and 5, 6. Okay? They've told me the formula for the slope of a line. y2 minus y1, it's the difference in y's is what that really means, over x2 minus x1. Now, it does not matter which point I call 1 and which one I call 2, and I'll illustrate that for you in a second. But let's just label them here. Let's just do this to make it really clear. I'm going to just call this my first point. So I'm going to say this is x1 and y1, and I'm going to say this point is x2 and y2, simply because it's point number 2. So I start with this one then. So I go 6 minus, so y minus y, 6 minus 2 over 5 minus 2. What is 6 minus 2? 4. What is 5 minus 2? 3. 4/3, which is answer E. Now here, let me show you. Suppose I had flipped these around. And just erase this so we don't get it confused. And let's say I had started instead with this point, okay? Then I did y minus y, so it'd be 2 minus 6. And then here I did x minus x, 2 minus 5. 2 minus 5. Well, what is 2 minus 6? You can use your calculator. It's -4. What is 2 minus 5? It's -3. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. So either way, you get the right answer. You just have to stay straight. If this is 0.2, then I start with, I have my 6 here and my 5 here, okay? If I use this as 0.2, then I start with a 2 and a 2. So just stay consistent. Pick one point and make that your first, and then use the second, okay? Now, so when I pause to erase this, I just want to remind you, because I'm going to erase these. Remember again, just for future reference, sum always means you're adding. Difference means you're subtracting. Product means you're multiplying. And quotient means you're dividing. Hello. All right, number 36. All right, so this requires a couple of different things. We're reading a table, but also we need to remember a couple of our terms. I said it a minute ago, the mean is the average. These are terms when we're dealing with data, and I just want to make sure we go over them. The median is the middle, whatever's in the middle, and on this, you must put them in order, have to, okay? And the mode is most often. One other term for data analysis is range, and is the difference from or between highest to lowest. And remember difference, I just erased it, but it means you're going to subtract. So you're going to take the highest piece of data and subtract the lowest piece, and that's going to be your range. Okay, so this problem says median. It shows the ages of students enrolled in a cooking class. What is the median age of the students? Okay, so I got to put them in order. I have 2 students that are 18. 18, 18. I have 4 students that are 19. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 1 student that's 20. And then I have 6 that are over 20. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to cram them in because I want them to be all together. Sorry. I spaced it out way too much. Okay. So I want to go in the middle. Well, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13. So in the middle, it's going to be term number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because look, I have 6 here and I have 6 there. This is in the middle. So the answer is 20, which is C. Remember, if you're doing median and there's an even number of data, so you have 2 terms in the middle, you would have to add those terms and divide by 2. You take the average then. But in this case, when there's an odd number of data, you just find the thing right there in the middle. But you have to put them in order. 37. Rectangle A has a length of L and a width of W. Okay, well, rectangle B has a length of L and a width of 2W. Which of these statements is true? Okay, so we're talking area and perimeter stuff. Okay, so the area is length times width. That'll be given to you. I'm just going to write that actually down. The area is length times width. So let's look at rectangle A. So rectangle A would have an area of length times width. Rectangle B, they're telling me, has a length of L and a width of 2W, I'm sorry. So it's going to be, I'll do 2W, I'm saying it wrong. It'd be L times 2W. So that's LW, and that's going to be 2LW. So let's look at our first statement. The area of A is twice B. No, it's actually half of it, isn't it? Okay. The perimeter of A is 2 less than the perimeter of B. Okay, we're actually not dealing with that anywhere. The area of A is half B. Well, here's A. Is LW half of 2LW? Yes. So we're to C. You had to find both areas. You look at the last one, the area of rectangle A is 1/4 of B. Nope, not that. And even the other perimeter one. If I was doing perimeter, I'd be adding it. If I'm doing perimeter, its length, well, it's 2 times the length, plus 2 times the width, because I've got to add all 4 sides. So I'm not going to go further on that. We'll see if another one of those comes up in a minute. Remember, perimeter, you're just adding your way around a shape. 38. On a bookshelf, there are X science books, Y math books, and Z history books. Which of the following expression represents the percentage of history books on the shelf? Okay, so let's take a look at these. X is math. Did I do that right? I'm sorry, I already messed up, didn't I? Hang on. Okay, so I wrote it. X is science, Y is math, Z is history. So if I want to know what percent of the total of them all is history books, I'm just doing the expression. So I want history compared to everything. Well, history, oopsie, is Z, okay? So I want to know Z compared to the total of all of them. Well, total means I'm going to add, okay? So I get that. Now look, here's the catch. You look down and you go, hey, wait, that's not any of the answers. Well, but they wrote it as a percent, which, remember when you're doing 100% at the very end, you're going to have to multiply by 100 if you're going to get it, if you're going to put it in percent form instead of having a decimal. So they've written there, they've got the 100Z over the total. So I need the number of history books over the total, and then I'm actually going to multiply that by 100. A lot of times we're doing it the other way where we're dividing by 100 when it's percent, but it's the same thing. Just remember this, it's like 0.12 means 12 100ths, which is 12%. 0.05 would be 5 100ths, which is 5%. Okay, and your calculator will make those conversions for you. But that's what we're messing with here, is instead of 0.12 to 12% multiplying by 100, we're going ahead and multiply by 100 so that we can put it in percent form. So I hope that's not too confusing. There we go. All right. So we've got this vegetable garden that's going to be built by this diagram here. How many feet of fencing are going to be needed to completely enclose the perimeter? All right, so they've told you straight out you need perimeter, but I've told y'all before, when you're doing fencing, it's perimeter. So you're going to add your way around the figure. So you're like, awesome, 3 plus 3 plus, yikes, I don't know that side. Well, if this is 6 and this is 3, you know, I could draw it up like that kind of. If this whole piece is 6, then that other piece has to be 3. You following that? And then let me square it off here. And then here, this piece is 6, this horizontal piece is 6, and that horizontal piece is 3 for a total of 9. Okay, I hope you understand that. If not, you know, freeze the video for a second and look, because you've got to get all the pieces for perimeter. So now let's add our way around. 9, well, here, let me just write them down. 9 plus 6 plus 6 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. 9, 6, 6, 3, 3, 3. Yep, got them all. All right, you can use your calculator. 9 plus 6 is 15, 21, 24, 27, 30. And that's my answer. So the answer is 30, which is D, as in dog. The catch, though, is you've got to have every side. So once you start adding the sides up and you get to here and you go, oh, no, I don't know that one. Okay, well, and for that matter, you didn't know this one down here until we filled it in. But that's how you find it. Horizontal was 6 and 3 for a 9. Vertical was 3 and 3 for a total of 6. Okay, and that was problem 39. And perimeter, remember, is counting your way around the figure. Just add your way around. 40. The square root of 38 is between which pairs of numbers? All right. So we're talking about the square root of 38. It is not a perfect square. So here's what you're going to do, though. This is the easiest way by far on this. I want square root. That's the green one right there. So I got to go the second key and then green. And it gives me the radical sign. I put in 38. Scoot over and look. Yep, that's it. Square root of 38. That's what I wanted. I hit it. Oh no, it just repeated it. That's a problem. Well, remember, anytime that happens, it's going to be a decimal answer, and you always hit these two arrows. I hit that and I get 6.164414003. They want to know it's between what pair of numbers? Well, it is 6.1644 and so forth. Okay, I'm not going to write it all. Well, what is that between? 6 point something is between 6 and 7, which is answer A. So that's the easiest way to do it. Just use your calculator and find it, and then go, well, 6.16, that's between 6 and 7. All right, 41. Noah's average score for 4 tests was 80 out of a possible 100. What would he need to score on the 5th test to bring his average up to an 82? Okay, so this is what we were looking at a minute ago, and I'm going to show you the easiest way to do it. I do want to remind you, the average is the total of the data over the number of data. Okay, and that's going to give me my average. So this is literally what you're going to have. If he's got an average for 4 tests of 80, so the first 4 tests average 80, so that's a total. I'm doing 4, well, let me write it out. So 4 tests times 80, whoopsie, plus we don't know my other test, and we're going to divide now by 5. Good, not alive. Sorry, that got away from me, didn't it? 5, and that's going to equal, he wants to bring that up to an 82. Okay? Here's the easiest thing to do. If he wants an 82 out of 5 scores, use your calculator. What is 5 times 82? Okay, I see it. It's 410. So he needs 410 points, because 410 divided by 5 would give him his 82. Well, how many's he got? Use your calculator. What's 4 times 80? He has 320. So how many points is he short? 410 minus 320, 90. He's going to need to get 90 points, which is answer C. That's always going to be the easiest way when they're asking for an average and they're leaving one piece of information out, is just to see, well, how many points do we need altogether? And then how many do we have? Whatever's left over, that's how many more we need. All right, so I got that. So I hope you're looking on your own copy. For 43, or 42, I'm sorry. What is the maximum value of the function shown in the graph above? Don't make this hard. The maximum value, how high does it go up? Well, it goes up to 8, between 8 and 10, 9. The answer is D, 9. That's all you have to do on that one. Okay, number 43 now is a factoring problem. I've written it up here already. We've got to factor 3x squared y plus 21xy cubed minus 6xy. When you're factoring, remember, the name of the game is to take out the common factors. It's literally the greatest common factor. So let's look. Between 3, 21, and 6, what do they all have in common? The biggest thing they all have in common, 3. Okay, out of x squared, x and x. The most they have in common, x. And out of y, y cubed and y, the most they have in common, y. All right, so then now, I'm just doing the distributive property. I got to see 3xy times what gives me 3x squared y. I need to multiply by an x. All right, 3xy times what is going to give me 21xy cubed? Well, 3 times, I got to do 7. X times, don't need to do that. Y times what for y cubed? That'd be y squared. And then minus 3xy times what gives me 6xy. 3 times 2 gives me the 6. I already have the x and the y. So 3xy times x plus 7y squared minus 2. And that is Answer E. Factoring means you take out the greatest common factor, and then you got to figure out what if I multiply this to get to that one. I multiply that to get to that one. I multiply that to get to that one. Now you see why I didn't do that at first. You got lines going all over the place. 44. If x equals 3 and y equals -2, what is the value for x squared minus y squared? You're just plugging in. Every time I see x, I'm putting 3. Every time I see y, I'm putting -2. So I have x squared, so 3 squared minus y, -2 squared. Use your calculator. 3 squared is 9 minus -2 squared. Negative times a negative is a positive. So that's going to give me a +4. 9 minus 4 is 5, which is answer C. Just plug in the values and use your calculator to solve through. 45. Okay, 45, we've got this chart here that I'm not going to draw. Which of the following represents the fraction of employees with 3 or more years of experience? We have less than a year, 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, 5 years or more. 3 or more. Well, I have 35% that have 3 to 5 years and 40% that have 5 years or more. So I have 35% plus 40%, which is 75%. So 75% of my employees have 3 or more years of experience. So 75% is always out of 100, right? So 75% out of 100. And you may look at that. I hope you look at it actually and go 70%, that's 3/4. But if you don't, that's okay. Again, use your calculator, do numerator denominator, 75 out of 100, enter, 3/4. There you go. So that's the answer. So 3/4 of their employees. One catch that might get you on this one, and that's answer D, is you've got to recognize you need to add it says more than 3 or more. So you got to add the 3 to 5, but also 5 years, because 5 years or more is more than 3. So you got to combine it all. All right, number 46. If there are 500 employees at the company, how many have 5 or more years of experience? Okay, what percent has 5 or more years? Look at the graph, 40%. So I'm going to set up a proportion, 40%. So 40 out of 100. This is the part out of the whole. The part here, we don't know. They want to know how many if my whole is 500. So remember, always just stay the same. The part over the whole, 40 out of 100, the part out of the whole. Well, hey, equivalent fractions, cross multiply. So I end up with 100x equals, and you can use your calculator, 20,000. I'm going to divide by 100. I'm going to divide by 100. Okay. And I'm going to get x equals 200. So 200 of my employees, which is answer B, would be there. The other way to do that is, remember the other formula, the whole times the percent equals the part. Well, if they're telling me that the whole is 500, and I read my chart, my pie chart, and it tells me that I've got 40%, then this is going to give me my part. I'm going to call my part X because that's what I don't know. So 500 times 40%. So again, I can use my calculator. I'm going to do 40, and then I'm getting to my percent. 40% of 500 is 200. Okay? So either way, I can get there. If I want to set up as a proportion, or if I want to use this formula, the whole times the percent equals the part. That will always solve a percent problem. We're closing in on it, guys. Stay with me. All right, 47. A custom piece of fabric can be made from a choice of 4 colors. So we have 4 colors. We have 3 patterns. And we have 8 stitching types. How many different combinations of colors, patterns, and stitchings are possible? Combinations are actually pretty doggone simple, you all. My combination is just going to be, it is the number of colors times the number of patterns times the number of stitching options. Do the calculator. 4 times 3 is 12, times 8 is 96, which is answer A. That's how you do combo problems, though. You multiply the different possibilities, and you got your answer. 48. On the number line above, which of the following points represents 2/3? Okay. This should not be hard. I want you to really think about it. Don't freak out on this because you see a fraction and everybody panics. 2/3. Does that equal 1? No, it's smaller than 1, right? Okay, it's positive. So we know we're not going to the left of 0. So that takes out B and A. Look at C. C looks like it's about halfway to half. So it looks like about 1/4, right? D. Does that look like it's 2/3 of the way between 0 and 1? Yes. And E is over here past 2. So we know it's not that. So it's D. So just remember, you know, I've got 0. Make it bigger. And I've got 1. 2/3 is going to be like right there. It's going to be 2/3. So I want to see which one represents that. And in that drawing, that is point D. And that's a good quick reminder of using the process of elimination. I could throw out A and B because they were negative. So throw out things you know aren't right. You don't consider them anymore. Okay, the area of the rectangle above is 24. What is the length? All right. So let me write this down. Remember, area is length times width. Hang on a sec. All right, I decided to go ahead and draw it up for you. So keep in mind on an XY axis, I just want to remind you of this because we really haven't had a lot of point problems on here. Like this. Horizontal is always X, vertical is always Y. Okay? So that makes sense here because there's my Y axis. I could draw it all the way through if I wanted to. They didn't, but same thing. So we've gone over 2 and up 0. Here we went -2 and up 0. Here we went over 2 and then we went up Y. We don't know how far, but here we went over -2 and then up Y. Okay, so that's how those work. Area is length times width. So here's the one catch on this that I think you got to notice. They told me that the rectangle, the area of it is 24, so I'm just going to plug that in for my A. My length, I'm going to say I don't know the length because that's what they're saying. It doesn't matter which dimension, but we're going to do that. My width, well, look at my width, you guys. That's -1, -2. +1, +2. So my width is 4. Do you see that? Because it's a total width of 4 spaces, right? From -2 to +2 is a total of 4. Same thing up here because it's a rectangle. All right, so I end up with 24 equals 4 times the length. Solve both sides, done. Isolate, done. Do the opposite, which is usually divide, except when there's an exponent. So I'm going to divide by 4, divide by 4. 4 divided by 4 gives me just L. 24 divided by 4 is 6, which is C. So my length is 6. Okay, and for our grand finale here, problem 50. Joaquin is buying ground beef for his club's picnic. The club will make 76 hamburgers. Each hamburger will contain 5 ounces of meat. Which of the following expressions can Joaquin use to find out how many pounds of beef he must buy? There's going to be a couple of little things to this, okay? So first thing is we're making 76 burgers. And each one is 5 ounces, okay? So let's use our calculator first. 76 times 5, 380. So we're going to need 380 ounces. Okay? Oh, you know what? I took off solving, didn't I? Well, let me show you because this may make it easier. But I don't want ounces. What they ended up saying is how many pounds of beef? How many ounces are in a pound? 16. So I'd get 380 ounces, and I'd have to divide that by 16 to get my pounds. So I'm going to do my 76 times 5, right? And then when I get that answer, I'm going to divide by 16 because that is going to get me into pounds. And so the answer is D. So just think through the steps that you have to do. This gets me ounces, but I want it in pounds. You got to kind of read the question and you realize, wait, it didn't ask me. Like A is giving it to you in ounces. That's great if you're just finding how many ounces. That's not what it asked. You got to read the question carefully. Pounds. Okay, so I hope this helps you all solve through these and understand more of what is behind each one of the problems. If you feel good with this test, I think you'll be in good shape.